Hi there, welcome back to Spring into Math 7. I'm Mrs. Campbell, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite things to do with integers. We're going to be multiplying integers. Let's get started. Okay, so before we go over the rules of multiplying integers, I just wanted to take a minute and show you kind of a cool pattern that you can see when you're multiplying integers. So I'm looking at the number 5. When I multiply 5 by 5, I get 25. I'm sure you've been doing this for a long, long time. Everybody pretty much knows how to multiply by 5s. That's pretty simple. And as you move down in the numbers that you're multiplying 5 by, 5 times 4, 5 times 3, 5 times 2, 5 times 1, you can see the pattern as the numbers go down. You're basically counting backwards in 5s. 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Eventually you get to 0. And remember, any number times 0 will always be what? 0. A million times 0? 0. So then what I wanted to kind of point out to you is how the negative numbers, as you multiply 5 by the negative numbers, the pattern repeats itself almost like a mirror reflection. It's actually pretty cool when you look at it, because you may even be able to solve some of these operations without having to do the work. Let me show you what I mean by that. So if we counted down by 5s, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, 0, then we start multiplying by negative integers. 5 times negative 1, negative 5. 5 times negative 2, negative 10. You'll see the pattern: 10 to negative 10, 15 to negative 15, 20 to negative 20, and even without doing the math, you should be able to determine what 5 times negative 5 is. Negative 25. You're just counting by 5s into the negative. Kind of a neat pattern to follow. So I'm going to jump right into giving you the rules for multiplying integers. Now, the way that I have this written out is significant, because I think that writing in color, especially with math, is a huge, huge help. I always tell my students to make the positives blue and the negatives red, but you don't have to do it that way. Do whatever works best for you, whatever your favorite colors are. But this, in my mind, separates positive and negative for me. Okay, so let's start with the simplest rule of all. A positive times a positive is a positive. Pretty simple. The next one, a negative times a negative is a positive. Now, that's pretty funny probably, because in your life you've probably heard someone say 2 negatives don't make a positive. Well, that's right in the real world. But in math, it actually does. 2 negatives make a positive. Then, if you have a situation, I'll highlight this too, where you have one digit or one number that's positive and one that's negative, or vice versa, negative and positive. In any situation, if the two signs are not the same, your outcome is always going to be negative. So it's actually pretty simple. If the signs are the same, your answer is positive. Positive, 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 negative, negative, positive. But if you have signs that flip, positive times negative is going to be a negative, and also a negative times a positive is a negative. So I would encourage you to write this over and over and over again until it's ingrained in your brain. And then when you're doing one of these, if you're doing a worksheet on multiplying integers or anything like that, just write this at the top. It's a great help. And it's actually, once you get it down, it just makes multiplying integers a piece of cake. All right, are you ready to give it a try? Try these out. Go ahead and pause your video, and we'll come back and we'll go over the answers together. All right, guys, how'd you do? Now, I wanted to say, too, if you want, another way that you could do these operations when you're multiplying integers is you could just do the multiplication, then go back and look at positives and negatives. What I mean by that is, let's look at the first one. Let's forget about the fact for a minute that they're both negatives. Let's just do 4 times 3. What's 4 times 3? Well, that's simple. 4 times 3 is 12. And then I look at are they positives or are they negatives? Okay, well, I've got 2 negatives. Remember, if the signs are the same, there's that funny saying again, 2 negatives make a positive. So that's actually done. That's already done. A negative 4 times a negative 3 is positive 12. All right, let's take a look at the next one. Negative 5 times 8. Okay, 5 times 8, simple. 40. What you'll notice in 7th grade math is the operations are really not hard. I'm guessing most of you knew that 4 times 3 was 12. And I'm guessing most of you knew that 5 times 8 was 40. And that's what I love about 7th grade math. It's really just about remembering the rules. And if you can remember the rules, I would encourage you to just look over your rules every night in your notes. Try to remember them, and this will be a piece of cake. Anyway, getting back to our problem here, negative 5 times 8 we said was 40, but is it going to be a positive or a negative? We've got opposite signs, one negative and one positive. So that one is going to be a negative 40. All right. The last one is, it looks like it's trickier, but it's actually not. Don't let the fact that there's 3 numbers here throw you off. Just do it one piece at a time. How would you solve negative 8 times negative 3? What's 8 times 3? 24. Right? That's not so bad. And then we look at, okay, we've got 2 negatives again. Remember, 2 negatives actually do make a positive, so we leave that one alone. Then we bring our negative 2 down, and we multiply by negative 2. Let's do the multiplication here. 24 times 2 is 48. And you have a negative 2, so this is going to be negative 48. It's actually really not so hard if you just learn those rules. The other thing I just quickly wanted to mention is that sometimes when you're multiplying integers, there's going to be variables involved in that. Now, if you need to, go ahead and pause this screen and read these notes, because it is important to remember the rules for terms are different with addition and subtraction in integers, using integers, versus multiplication. So I think you guys may remember in our video when we were learning how to add and subtract integers, I said you cannot add cookies to monkeys. But you can, in multiplying integers, you can multiply unlike terms. So let's quickly take a look at my example here. 5b plus 2c. We can't add 5b plus 2c because they're unlike terms. So the rules in adding and subtracting integers are totally different than multiplying. Because take a look at this. In multiplying variable expressions, we can multiply unlike terms. 5b times 2c equals 10bc. Totally fine to do that. Okay, one more time, let's take a look at some examples here. I've given you a couple problems that have variables included in them. And the first one's actually pretty simple. 3z times negative 2, all you need to do is multiply what you've got there, and you get a negative 6z. The next one looks like it's more complicated, but it's actually not. You've got negative 5 times negative 2m times negative n. Now remember, the associative property tells us that we can change the order. And so what I've done here is I've broken each one of these numbers out, or variables out. I've now got negative 5 times negative 2 times m times n. And I just have to multiply. So negative 5 times negative 2, remember, 2 negatives equals a positive, positive 10, m, n, and my answer is 10mn. That pretty much does it for multiplying integers. Join us next time when we talk about dividing integers, and you'll be excited to see that if you know how to multiply integers, dividing integers is going to be a piece of cake. We'll see you next time.